Welcome to episode number 5. All right, 10. 5. No, 5. Welcome to episode number 5 of the Digital Health Voice. And today we are interviewing Dr. Michael Watts, who is the CEO and co-founder of Blüm Health. I hope I pronounced it correctly, but I guess Dr. Watts will tell me a bit more later. And without further ado, we welcome Dr. Michael Watts. Welcome, Dr. Watts, and it's really a pleasure to meet a fellow doctor, also especially on something in relation to digital health and MedTech. And with that in mind, I'll just go ahead with the first question. What's your digital health journey? What brought you here with us today?
I think, I've always been interested in tech. I was always, after the next gadget and bickering at my parents to try and get, the next latest model of, the PlayStation or whatever. And I think, so I've always had an interest in tech. And when I started out my career as a medic, as a clinician, I thought, that they harmonize quite well. In many ways, they are total opposite ends of the spectrum, but actually when you can bring them two together, it's really quite special. And I started to notice that actually, I was training sort of 5 years ago. So that was when tech was really coming to the forefront of healthcare, and, digital health was really sort of flying and continues to do so. But actually it was then that I started to notice it. And it was all sort of in my own time that I was exploring it, because it's not part of the medical school curriculum. It's starting to be, which I think is really good, but actually innovation and digital health wasn't something that was commonly taught. So really my interest stemmed from many years ago as a medical student and probably before that, I would say.
I have a bit of a similar story. I mean, we did have health informatics education at school, but the innovation and entrepreneurship aspect, not so much. And in fact, I noticed that you also worked you had the opportunity to be part of the clinical entrepreneurship program. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's totally correct. So I think that has a lot to contribute to my enthusiasm towards this space. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, in fact, I have a quick curious question for you. What's with the 2 dots on the U of Blüm? Because I'm trying to see if I pronounce it correctly.
It is Blüm. Yeah, some people call it
Blüm.
But,
all right, okay.
The 2 dots. I mean, I can tell you a little bit more about Blüm's journey, but actually, it all started out as a child development app for parents.
Wow. Okay.
So we called it Blüm, as in BLOOM, because it was all about growing a child. Right. But then the U with an umlaut actually created a smiley face, and we thought that it was fun, it was playful, and
exactly.
It was quite, it was nice. A thing, right, to have an umlaut as part of your. Are you really a startup without an umlaut? No, I'm just joking. But
no, it's really good. Yeah. It's really great.
But I think so that's really where it came from.
Yeah, I'm seeing the logo. In fact, I'm seeing the logo, Michael, on your hoodie, and I kind of realized the U looks like a smiley, and I thought that just 2 or 3 seconds before you started. So tell me more about Blüm Health. How did it get, you mentioned the child health app, but then I was seeing ophthalmology, diabetes. I'm seeing a lot of interesting things happening there. So tell me more about it.
Absolutely. So we've been, we started out, I really started this journey in med school when I started to go to conferences and things like that. And I can remember being at a conference, and there was a couple of people there, and we were bouncing ideas off one another. And we came up with an idea that was around vaccinations in third world countries. And it was really good, because we were going to use SMS to actually deliver a service. But then someone came to us and said, you're never going to be able to pull that off. You need to start in the UK, and you need, a large amount of capital to be able to pull something like that off. So we was like, brilliant. Okay, just quashed our dreams within a conversation, within a sentence nearly. Anyway, so we started to actually look at what the British sort of parent tech industry was like, and there was a few opportunities. And we felt that we could actually do something where we enabled parents to record 1 second of their baby's life every day, string it together and create a 6-minute video. But at the same time, they could record all of the things that a health visitor would usually record. So height, weight, feed, sleep, all those kind of things. And that was really where the Blüm baby idea came from, because, day to day, they would have this amazing movie of their child's or their newborn's life. But then, if we started to notice trends and sort of failure to thrive, we could actually support them, prompt them, and guide them through that process as first-time parents. And that's really where Blüm Baby started out. So that was Blüm Baby. And we were progressing it well. It was good. It's still there. It's very much sort of on the back burner because we felt that it was more of a want than an unmet need. I think the need is to reduce unnecessary visits to GPs and things like that. But obviously when COVID hit, it was very much a what could we do in the COVID space. So we started to prioritize COVID solutions we with a couple of ideas, and that really accelerated us as an organization. So what we do now is we build innovations for ourselves and for other people like we did through COVID, which is why we now work with public organizations. So we're working with the University of Liverpool, we're working with NHS trusts as well, but actually enabling them to turn their ideas into reality is something that we wanted to do, as well as innovate ourselves. So we are actually working on an innovation in the endoscopy space at the moment. And we also, as part of what we do to give back to this community, because it's quite I think because we're healthcare professionals interested in tech, it's quite a sharing community, quite an open community. We actually do support one another, and we provide a small amount of support to solo entrepreneurs and startups to actually get them to a position where they can actually, pitch their idea and actually start testing it with users through prototyping and things like that. So really it was a case of, how do we maximize the success of everyone around us whilst also focusing on impact from our own sort of innovation, and having myself as a clinician at the core, as well as techies, as we like to call them. It really gave us the advantage to be able to innovate, collaborate, and enable, which is what our slogan really is about today.
Yeah, you've naturally gone to my next question, which would be like, how do you really make the experience of all these different solutions work for both patients, health professionals, and even, I would say, management of the different trusts and organizations you work with? How do you make it work? Like, do you meet up with them? How do you achieve the success that you need?
It's difficult. I mean, I think the engaging with the NHS as an SME has always been difficult. I think COVID has broken down that barrier somewhat. So I think that in terms of like service level, I think that's the complex one. But what you really need to do is prove to those that you've actually engaged with, patients and healthcare professionals. So I would start at the end user perspective. So actually engaging with patients or staff, depending on who's going to be using the software, and really understanding what the problem is with them. Because if you can work out what the pain points that they are experiencing, then you can work with them to find a solution. And once you've got that solution, you can work with them to actually understand how the innovation will be able to solve that problem. That tied in with, so engagement tied in with trust, because I think the other part is trust, right? You can build something that's a solution, you can build something that's going to change the way your service is provided. But if the patients and the staff don't trust it, they're not going to use it. So I think it's about, demonstrating that you have the ability to build robust software or robust hardware, if that's what your industry is exploring, or if that's what your company is exploring, should I say. But being able to demonstrate that you can trust the software and that it's going to deliver what it says it's going to deliver is as important as actually understanding what the service or what the end user wants at the same time. And then bringing those two together and actually going to someone like the NHS and saying, look, here's what we found, here's who we've spoken to, and here's what we've built. Those three things alone will enable you to actually get the ear of a sort of a government level organization like the NHS, but it does take time, and it takes a lot of energy to get to that point. So I think it's something that we learn by doing, and really a lot of what we do now, Stefan, is actually, showing other people that's the way we've done it previously, and that's the way we continue to do it. And it might not be the most efficient way, but it certainly is good to get that engagement at the from the off.
This is really fantastic. This insight that you just gave us, it's the right thing to do, and it's a recipe for success, really, truly, with this deep stakeholder engagement. So my next question would be the innovation aspect. So what does the future look like for digital health and MedTech, and how Blüm Health fits into this picture? Like, how does Blüm Health want to contribute to the future of digital health and MedTech? What's the vision? Like, any interesting ideas we should look out for?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple of solutions we're working on at the moment. The three things that our solutions need to be is impactful, scalable, and patient-centric. So it has to improve the patient outcomes. It has to save the NHS or equivalent healthcare organization or healthcare service. It has to save them money, and it also has to improve resource capabilities as well, whether that be supporting staff, making their lives easier, or even just enabling them to go back to doing what they were doing when they qualified. We time and time again see resource gaps in nursing and things like that. So actually, if we can complement those services with digital technology, then actually that enables them to be able to have a more diverse role, as they may have well have done previously. So I think it's an extremely exciting time for digital health. I think obviously COVID has had a huge impact on healthcare systems all throughout the world. And so a lot of the barriers that we saw in adoption have I wouldn't say they've been eradicated, but I think they've been reduced. So it now is a good opportunity to support services, reduce the backlog of COVID that COVID has caused through software support. So I think we'll see a lot more remote monitoring. I think we'll see a lot more telemedicine and remote consultations. But actually what we're working on at the moment is a lot more simple than that. And it's really just digitalizing care pathways. So, instead of, for example, instead of a nurse calling a patient to ask them questions pre-procedure, why not push them smart forms that they can fill out themselves? We're getting a lot more savvy in terms of technology as a population, particularly in the UK, but globally. And I think it's about empowering them, but not creating inequalities as well. So one of our focuses is wherever we create innovation, it's always being able to revert back to the manual process in case that patient cannot access that technology. So it's a really exciting time. As I say, sort of that software as a service provision is really what we're focusing on in the moment. We're looking at the endoscopy process because I've actually been an endoscopy patient recently, and that process is incredibly drawn out, incredibly manual, and there's loads of opportunities to actually support the digitalization of those kind of pathways. So that's really where we're exploring at the moment. There will be communications on our LinkedIn and on our website about what we're up to in that space. We're collaborating with a few organizations, both public and private as well, supporting them turn into their clicks and mortar businesses, as I like to say, and really get to this vision that we have, which is a world filled with digital health innovation.
Yeah, so I love the fact that you're focusing on possibly like different pain points within the healthcare system, but also a bit of low-hanging fruits, in what sense that if it is something that can be digitalized and it's something that can be reviewed, why not? Let's give it a shot. So that's really great, because you're not satisfied with the status quo of the situation, but rather you want to, in collaboration, and also I love your equitable approach. That is a recipe for success. Because even if someone starts off possibly as needing a telephone call or a manual intervention, maybe later on he or she will realize that, listen, there's a digital approach. They will get the results faster. So it's also a pathway towards making a digital service available for that particular individual, because you've started off and you've reached out to that person. But keeping that in mind, so love to talk to you about MedTech World, and I'm curious, is this your first in-person conference since the COVID-19 pandemic?
It's actually not. It is my second or third. Yeah,
oh, wow.
It's my third.
Right.
So yeah,
good for you.
Because we're based in the northwest, so we're based in Liverpool. They part
right.
of the trials. They were running sort of conference. They ran a conference really early on.
Okay.
So it was.
Wait, I think I know which one. Was it the Giant Health Conference by any chance? Oh yeah, I remember that one.
So it was on our doorstep. So we felt that we wanted to go and see what it was like to actually see people in face to face again. It will be one of the first, I think. And obviously, I was in Malta recently, and I think restrictions are a little bit different to the UK at the moment. So I think it's really exciting that that Malta's able to take this step forward and actually have this conference, because it's a really exciting thing to do. It certainly reminded me that networking face to face, work, and is so much fun and a really great opportunity to collaborate with one another. But yeah, there's been a few conferences that are. I feel like it's a bit of conference season now in the UK, so there's a few floating around.
Yeah.
So, but this is certainly one of my earliest conferences that I've been to since post-COVID, or during this time.
Yeah, for me it would be the first one, like the first full-blown, like more than one day conference, and honestly I can't wait to be there. But now I have an opportunity for you. We have 1 minute where you can choose something or even someone possibly that you would like to feature in less than a minute, or possibly raise awareness about. It could be an issue or something. So the floor is yours, Michael. Tell us about your story.
I think so. I really just want to talk about the opportunity of collaboration and where that takes people. I want to talk about what I've experienced over the last 2 years and how difficult it is to actually find a team and find the opportunities and actually enable things to go from idea to reality. And I would just encourage people that have an idea, want to take it to the next level, to really just communicate with people, because this digital health community that we're in is really open, and I'm always here to discuss ideas, innovations, and support where we can, getting people to that initial level. It requires funding, it's going to require procurement, it's going to require all of these barriers that need to be overcome. And I think what Blüm is really here to do is not only provide value to patients and to staff and to healthcare services, but actually to our community that we sit within, really supporting those early stages, because we certainly felt that pain. And I think a lot of people, a lot of startups feel that pain, and it's really, talk about it, talk about what you need. And if we can't help, then we can certainly try and point people in the right direction, because there's a very supportive network. Even in Malta, in the short time that I've been speaking with the community, the health tech community in Malta, it seems really supportive. So I would just encourage others to go and speak to people. But certainly if people are interested in what we're up to, want to hear about some of our projects, or have an idea that they think they might need to take to the next level, then please just reach out to us on our website, bloomhealth.co.uk, and we'd be more than happy to have that initial conversation.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Watts. And for all those watching us today, we can't wait to welcome you at MedTech World. It is truly the place to be between the 17th of November and 20th of November. And Michael, with that in mind, we look forward to seeing you here. I can't wait to do like
it's
so we avoid the handshake, and hopefully we'll have maybe a glass of water or something maybe a bit more exciting together, or coffee, and we'll chat on digital health and MedTech. Bye bye. Thank you for everything.
Thank you for having me. Thanks all.